Hi everyone, this is a quick tutorial on how to use measuring spoons to make the joints for ball jointed dolls. Measuring spoons are perfect if you want to have joints that are the same size overall, because I don't know about you, but when I sculpt freehand, it's very difficult for me to get the same size spheres. In this tutorial, we're going to use two sculpting mediums. We're going to use Super Sculpey clay, which pretty much looks like this, and we are going to use Apoxie Sculpt, which is a two-part clay, and it looks like this. It's a two-part epoxy clay, and it looks like that. Okay, so for the first half of the tutorial, materials you need are measuring scoops that are the same size. You also need petroleum jelly to use as a mold release for an epoxy clay. So you take a little bit of the petroleum jelly, like so. I don't know if you can see. And then you basically apply it liberally to the inside of the scoop, like so. Not too much, because the petroleum jelly can actually alter the shape of the sphere. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. Okay, you measure out your two-part epoxy. You really don't need a lot, so you measure out your two-part epoxy. Take part. You take part B, part A, like so. I actually already shot this video before, but I chose to. Well, when I uploaded it, YouTube was basically like, do you want us to fix your video? You know, it's kind of blurry in some parts. Oh, then you mix both parts together. But yeah, YouTube was like, oh, your video is kind of blurry in some parts. Do you want us to fix your video? And I'm like, sure, go ahead and fix my video. And then I went back and I looked, took a look at the video, and it's very shaky. You can't really see anything. It's still educational. You can still pretty much see the process I went to, I used to make these pieces, but it's kind of awful. So that's why I'm reshooting this. Okay, so you just mix. You push it into your mold, making sure to push it in really well. Make sure you get all the crevices, so that way you can kind of emulate what it's like on the inside of this mold. When you do this, try to leave a little overhang, so that way we can connect the pieces, the clay, to the other part, because we're going to kind of put these together and hold it that way until it cures, to kind of fuse those parts together. So that should be fine. Don't worry if it's looking a little bit rough. We're going to clean that up a little later. So take a little bit more, put it in the second part, like so. Push it in there, push it in there. Make sure you get all the crevices, make sure it's in all the cracks, so that way it can take the characteristics of the cavity. In other words, since the scoops are relatively smooth on the inside, we want the pieces to be smooth. Okay, I added a little bit more. Oh, I added a little bit more on the inside here, because I kind of felt like I pushed out a little bit too, pushed too much out. And I want to lay this flat. Okay, now, looking at the piece, if you want it to be a little bit smoother on the inside, you can do that. Okay, so here is a ball that I made before. I just want to say something really quick. This is a solid ball. It's not perfect, because as I mentioned, there are two different brands of scoops, and this one is slightly bigger, so it's not perfect, but you can drill a hole. For this piece, I forgot to make a hole in the bottom, so I might have to drill a hole. So in this one, I'm going to quickly, well, not quickly necessarily, but I'm just going to put a quick hole there that I can work with. I'm going to do it with this one as well, like so. So that way when it's cured, I can just take my X-Acto knife and, clean that up. Now, I also want to put my channel in, so that way I don't have to go in later with a drill and do so. So I'm going to cut that in right now while the clay is still wet, because epoxy clay can be very, very difficult to work with when it's dry. It's very, very strong. So gonna cut that. I'm going to take it out. Oh, wait a minute, let me do this here, and I'm going to take it out. You don't have to, but I kind of just want to get that out of the way with, especially if you know what part you're making. If you're making like, this is probably going to be like a thigh or whatever, because it's a really big circle. But if you're making like the hand, the arm, excuse me, the shoulder connector, you know, you can just put your channels in when it's still wet. It's helpful. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure that there is an overhang, like right here and right here, and then there's no, I'm gonna make sure that there's no Vaseline on it, so that way it can stick really, really well together. So stick your pieces, try to get, you see the hole at the bottom, oh, I'm sorry, you see the hole at the bottom that I had put for the drill lines. I'm going to try to line that. Oh, I'm going to try to, wait a minute. You have to have a lip so that way it has something to stick to, the epoxy clay. I'm going to try to line that up like so. Line it up as good as I can have it. I'm going to squeeze and connect like this. So now we have a connection. And also, if it's not a perfect connection, you can easily mix up some more epoxy clay and fill in whatever gaps might be left over. So I'm taking a rubber band and I'm just gonna hold these two together to make sure that, you know, it doesn't come apart while it's curing, because that is going to ruin all our hard work. Oops, wait a minute. I'm gonna take a rubber band, kind of, actually, you know what, I don't have to. It seems fine. So I'm going to pop this in my craft oven to help speed up the dry time of the epoxy clay, and then I'll be right back to demonstrate how I would make my sphere if I'm using Super Sculpey.